Hello everyone, so in today's video let's create a interesting image that we could use for our portfolio or just a simple experiment or practice to take something from ZBrush and bring it into Maya and set up materials and lights and just create something interesting and impressive. Alright, so to get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop into ZBrush. And let's just use something as basic as this female ZPR. So you should, doesn't really matter what version of ZBrush you are using, you should see the female default model available in the projects tab, right? So I'm gonna double click on that. And this is what I'm getting. So this is a character that we can use. And my intention, as you saw in the beginning of the video, is not to use the entire body. I just want to use maybe something along these lines and just create something interesting. All right, so let's think about this. One of the first things I would like to do is definitely lower her arms. And to do this, you know, if you're using an older ZBrush version, of course you can just simply use the masking and then just hold down the control key, tap a few times, maybe click holding down control, you can click and flip your masking and then tap a few more times to smooth it even more. And then of course you can use the rotation, for example, to bend it, right? So in this case, maybe I want to put the pivot here, and then I can just do the bending this way. So that's the old one. The new one, the ZBrush 2024, added anchors. So I'm gonna go ahead and use them to lower my arms. So to do that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jump out of the perspective view. Holding down the shift key, I can snap my camera and zoom in. I'm gonna go to my brushes and I'm gonna choose the anchors, the new anchors brush. And let's go ahead and just simply lower her arms down. I would like to do that without distorting any other geometry, so I'm going to try to see if I can do it a little better. And maybe just do something like that. And I can, if I wanted to, I can smooth this out by holding the shift key. And just make sure that it looks decent, right? So another thing I could do is just grab my move tool. And let's just maybe adjust these shoulders just so it looks a little more natural. Maybe this female does not have huge bodybuilding shoulders. Now, another thing I would like to do, I'm not going to be using the entire body, so I actually don't even need it. So let's just go into the geometry. We can see that the current subdivision level is set to 4, right? So if I dial this down, you can see that this is kind of a lower poly version. You can also turn your polyframe on and take a look. And for what we're doing, we're not going to be creating like a game ready asset. We're just making something that is visually appealing. So for that reason, I am going to leave it on all the way on subdivision 4. And I'm just going to chop off all the extra that I don't need. So I'm going to delete lower, hold down Control Shift, jump into my knife rectangular here and just do Control Shift and just simply chop maybe all of this here, right? I don't need any of that. Very cool. So now I can press F on my keyboard if I want to zoom in. I can press F again, actually. If sometimes you have to press it twice to align, to focus your model to your mesh. So keep that in mind. And I'm pretty happy with this. I think this is going to be an awesome starting point for what I'm looking to do. All right. So the next thing we should do is maybe let's think about this. So my intention is to give this character some kind of a cool helmet. So probably all of this is going to be somewhat hidden. And the only thing you're going to see is kind of like the neck and the lips. And for that reason, maybe let's go ahead and maybe just sculpt this just a little more, make it a little more interesting. So one of the things I see right away is that I'm not happy with the lips. Don't really have a definite shape. It feels like they are kind of smoothed out a lot. And I'm assuming you're going to be using the same base mesh, so you're going to see kind of a similar result, right? So to do the sculpting a little bit. I am gonna grab my tablet here. And let's see, so let's go ahead and make our brush a little bit smaller. I'm gonna jump into Damien Standard, and I'm gonna switch this to add, and let's see what this looks like. All right, and let's just turn on our lazy mouse, maybe to like 20. And I want to define these lips a little better. And I'm not happy with the intensity. I think it's a little too intense. Let's just drop this down to like 20. Let's just see if we can define these lips a little better. And do the same thing kind of on the bottom here as well. All right. Another thing you can do if you wanted to, you can also pinch, right? So let's grab a pinch and just very slowly just maybe define this even more. And you can figure out if you want to pinch the end of the mouth. I think I do. I think that looks pretty cool. Let's see, what else can we do? So another thing we can do is maybe let's grab our move brush. And if we wanted to increase the size of these lips, because I am going to cover most of the face, so the lips are going to be seen, right? So maybe one of the things we could do is increase just the size, kind of emphasize this a little more, make it a little more stylized. I think that's the word I'm looking for. So maybe a little bit larger. Maybe just do a little bit like a little smile there. And another reason you want to do something like this is because we are using a base mesh, so it's going to be nice to add kind of a custom touch to your model or your work, right? Another thing we can do is let's make our brush somewhat large, and still using the move brush, I'm just going to push these in and just maybe make it a little more kind of a definite here. And then let's maybe also just do something like this to the nose. Artistic preference. I'm just kind of pushing and pulling and seeing what maybe feels a little more interesting, a little more custom, right? So once you're happy with your face, maybe we can, let's go ahead and grab, I'm gonna grab my pinch brush, just making subtle changes here. And maybe let's just maybe do something like this, just make it a little more stylized. And I'm not gonna worry about the eyes. I'm gonna cover these as far as well as the ears. If we wanted to, we could pinch the cheeks a little more. All right. And maybe add a little bit of a chin, and maybe make it just a little bit more, have it come out a little more. Now, another thing that I would like to do on my character is just make the neck, it's going to be kind of, again, like a stylized rendering. So I want to make this a little less strong, I think is the word I'm looking for. And we can raise these up. All right. Very cool. So let's see, once you're happy with this, the next thing we should do is let's create some kind of a suit that maybe the character is wearing, right? So to create the suit, let's go ahead and extract geometry right from this base mesh. So to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to subdivide this a few times. So currently we deleted our lowest. So if I press Ctrl D, you can see that takes me to 1.2 million at level 2. Now, if I hold down the Control key, I can check and see what the resolution of my mask is. And I think that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and decide which part of the face is going to be revealed and which one is going to be masked out, right? So I'm going to just hold on the Control key and just simply mask out everything that I want to be revealed. And again, the top part of her face is going to be covered with the mask or like a helmet. So I'm only looking to do something along these lines. I think looks pretty cool. All right, so once you masked out your selection, just simply press Control and tap to flip it, right? And now you can see what that looks like. And let's just go ahead and just simply extract this mesh right out of our base mesh. So to do that, I'm gonna go to Extract under Subtool, Extract, and let's just let's turn this all the way up, the smoothness, and I'm gonna leave the thickness by default at 0.02 and just click Extract to see the preview of what that might look like. Alright, so this is the current thickness, and I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not gonna worry about the ears either, because I'm planning on adding kind of like a headphone here. So that's gonna kind of solve this messy situation. But as far as the thickness goes for the suit, I think this looks pretty good. So I'm gonna actually accept it and commit. Let's go ahead and come up here and let's take a look. So I'm gonna hide the base mesh and see what's going on here. So if there's any cleanup that's necessary, obviously we can quickly do that. So let's go in the side view. I'm gonna press Control and drag to, and now if I turn my poly frame, I can do auto group, and you can see that this is now different poly groups, which means I can do Control Shift and click, and then do Control Shift and click again to hide it. And now I can just simply do delete hidden, and that piece is going to be deleted. Now, if you don't have delete hidden on your UI, you can find that in Tools, Geometry, right? So that's where that is. Once you delete it, let's just go ahead and maybe clean this up a little more, just so you know, these lines right here could be maybe bring back our base mesh and take a look. So now we have something along these lines. Now, if you are still not happy with how this is looking, you could always go in the side view, make sure you're not in the perspective camera, and just hold down Control Shift, and instead of using knife rectangular, we can use knife curve, and we could actually make even a cleaner cut here. Holding down Control Shift, you can, while still holding on Control and Shift, you can press space bar and move this line around, right? So maybe I want to put it here, and then let go of spacebar and let go of Control Shift, and now this front point is kind of parked. So now I can press Alt one time, do something like this, press Alt again, and hold down the spacebar, maybe move it into position, and just make another cut. So that will create a maybe even a better and more interesting slice, right? So that's another way of dealing with geometry that is not clean. And honestly, I kind of like this better. I think this kind of is definitely creating a very interesting transition between the neck and the face. And I kind of like that. Let's just go ahead and go with that. Let's see, what else can we do? So one of the things to emphasize that this is a suit, maybe we can change the shape of it just a little more. So I'm gonna grab my move brush and let's go in the side view, and let's just maybe do something like this, just to make it a little more interesting. So it does look like a suit. And maybe this character has, you know, an unusual head, or maybe there's some kind of a tech in there. Very cool. Let's see, what else can we do? So the next thing I would like to do is add some kind of a helmet. So helmet and then headphones, right? So for the helmet, let's just do something really simple. I'm just gonna insert a, sphere. And let's go ahead and scale the sphere. We can press F if we needed to, and we can just scale this to the something smaller. I can also turn on transparency, And maybe we'll just start kind of shaping this a little more. And what I'm visualizing is, so I'm looking right here in this part here. So the helmet is gonna come out right out of this area right here, kind of come down. And I'm trying to figure out if I want to cover the nose or not. So maybe the nose could actually be visible, right? So all the way down here, and then I can make a slice going right above the nose. So that's going to be kind of almost like a motorcycle helmet, right, where it comes down. And let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So one of the other things I could do is I could subdivide this more so it doesn't have this grid, right? So let's do Control D a couple times. We can go to geometry, and let's go ahead and delete lower. Again, I'm not really worried about poly count at this point. So I just want to make sure that my pieces are nice and smooth. And we can also see what that looks like from the front. And let's just go ahead and make our slice. So to make the slice, I'm going to do Control Shift. And again, I'm just going to use my knife curve here and holding down Control Shift, you can just make a cut. Let's just decide where we want our cut to be. So maybe somewhere around here. I guess we can figure out if you want the angle of the helmet coming down like this, or if it's more like this. So we can even, if we wanted to, we can even angle this, right? We can do like an angle. So maybe this looks pretty cool. I'm gonna go ahead and chop it and see what that looks like. I'm kind of liking this. I think this is great. Now let's deal with a couple of these issues. I'm gonna jump out of my transparent mode. So one of the issues is obviously this sphere is going over the the suit, right? So let's go ahead and maybe grab a move brush. I'm gonna press X to turn on X symmetry. I'm gonna make my brush kind of large and just very slowly kind of move this in. Try to move it in such a way where you're not distorting the shape too much, where it still feels very clean. And again, I'm just gonna keep using the same word, wobbly. You want to avoid anything that looks very wobbly, right? You don't want that. So just maybe push this in. Again, completely ignore ugly ears. They're not going to be visible. We'll put headphones here, but I'm trying to find a good spot where this is coming out of the suit, but at the same time it's pushed in just enough, right? So I think something like this works really nice. Now another thing, obviously right now it looks like this is way too thick, right? So how do we subtract, how do we make this into more of a panel instead of a sphere, right? So to do that, let's just go ahead and duplicate this. So now we have two of them, right? I'm gonna grab my scale, and I'm just gonna scale this a little bit. The second one, I'm gonna grab my move brush, go into the side view. Let's go ahead and turn on the transparency, and let's just position this. And if we wanted to, we can even hide the base mesh and the suit. And you can see what this is looking like. I'm really looking to be inside the sphere, right? So something like this. And we can also push this in, so make sure it's literally, if I jump out of the transparency mode, you can see it's literally inside the other sphere, right? So something along these lines I think is pretty much perfect. Now we just have to simply subtract the second shape from the first shape. So how do we do that? Well, to do this, one thing we could do is we could just turn on our live booleans and switch this to subtract. And now you can see what that looks like. And at this point it's nice because you can even select the second shape and still move it around if you need to. You can control the thickness and the height of it, right? So move it around, make sure that it makes sense on your end. I'm gonna turn these back on, and you can see what that looks like. Now this is interesting. So this second shape is also being subtracted from the suit, right? And the reason for that is because we don't have this little icon clicked, which is start. So we're telling ZBrush start using Booleans just from this layer onto here, and all of this is going to be blocked by the start. So you can see the difference of using it and not using it. So that's really important when you're using Booleans. Keep that in mind. All right, very cool. So check this out. So now we have this really awesome looking helmet, and I like how this is flowing. It's very nice. You can see this really nice suit. You can see the strong cheekbones are working really well, and the ears are terrible. So let's go ahead and fix those. I'm liking the nose. I think that's feels pretty good too. All right, so for the ears, let's see. Let's just insert something like something as simple as a cylinder, and I guess I can press F. I'm gonna grab my scale and really scale this down. Let's go ahead and hold on the Shift key and rotate this 90 degrees and scale it this way. And start thinking of this as a side headphone, right? So maybe size it and just see if it kind of covers our ear, right? Now, one of the things I'm realizing obviously is I'm gonna have to angle this. So let's go ahead and angle it and maybe put it in position. And I'm okay with this part being over the suit. I think that still works. We'll just figure out the thickness, the size. I don't want it to be too large. I just want it to be just large enough to kind of cover the entire ear. So something along these lines, I think works. All right. The next thing we can do is I'm going to turn my polyframe on, and let's jump into ZModeler. I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller. Hovering over one of these pieces here, I'm going to press spacebar, and I'm going to go to polygroup, and I'm going to do let's do a poly loop. So I'm going to select that, and now if I click on one of these, you can see that has been changed. And maybe let's do another one. So we have 2. So I got 2 there. And next what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Q Mesh, and let's change this to, let's just do polygroup island. That's fine. And let's just start, and let's just see if we can press it. And obviously it's not going to let us because we have multiple subdivision levels. So I'm going to go ahead and delete higher, and I just want to push this in, and let's go ahead and push this in as well. I think that looks pretty cool. And now if we jump out and do Control D a few times, you can decide if you want to crease this or not. If you do want to crease it, let's go ahead and come back and delete higher, and let's do a crease polygroup border. So I'm going to press on that, and now if I press Control D, you can see that these are much sharper inside, right? Because it's using polygroups to find the crease. I actually kind of like the fact that this here is a little more round and these are super sharp. I think that totally works. All right, so I'm happy with this. I'm gonna go ahead and delete lower, and again, just leave kind of a higher version of it. So let's see, what else can we do? So maybe one other thing we could do is maybe let's add something inside the headphone. So to do that, I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to scale this down. maybe do something like that, and let's just maybe make it a little more longer, and maybe I'm just gonna go inside the headphone. Something along these lines I think is good. And again, I'm gonna do I'm gonna subtract this shape here, and maybe I need to be careful about how much of it is gonna go inside. All right, I actually like something along these lines, but obviously this ear is on the way. So I'm gonna go to my suit here, grab my move brush, and let me just move this ear out of the way, kind of tuck it in a little more. I can even go to my base mesh, let's unmask it, and let's just tuck this in as well. All right, very nice. So the next thing we should do is let's flip this over to the other side. So I'm gonna do mirror and weld, and that brings it to the other side. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with the piece that's being subtracted. I'm going to do mirror and weld as well. Now you can see it's on both sides, right? Very cool. So now I have something along these lines. Next, let's go ahead and maybe add something on top that is connecting both of these headphones together. I'm going to select my suit, and the next thing I want to do is I want to create this kind of like a bridge between these two headphones. So to do that, let's snap into the side view. And again, I'm not in the perspective mode, so I'm in the orthographic view. I'm just gonna hold on Control and just drag a selection. Something like that should be perfect. All right, next let's go ahead and go to extract. Let's turn our smoothness all the way up. I'm gonna leave my thickness at 0.02, and I'm gonna turn off double and do extract. All right, and you can see what that looks like. I'm happy with this, so I'm gonna do accept. As soon as I press accept, a new layer is created. And now I can hold on Control and drag to get rid of my masking. And let's just delete all this extra stuff. I'm gonna hold on Control and Shift. And I'm just gonna make a cut right there and just clean that up. All right, so that's gonna be, let's go ahead and see if we can make this cleaner as well. Maybe let's do Control Shift. And just for fun, let's do something like a knife circle. And let's just simply, now holding down Control Shift, I can make a shape. Holding down the space bar, I can move this around. And let's just do something, do that. Let's go ahead and do this same thing on this side. Maybe just do something, again, that has a little bit of a shape. And I think that's really cool. Honestly, maybe add a little more here. All right, and what else can we do? So I think maybe it feels like we can add something inside of these headphones. It just feels a little too boring. So let's go ahead and come back here. All right, so we know that this shape is being subtracted using the live Booleans, right? So if I jumped out of the subtraction icon and go back to the solid icon, you can see that this is the shape that's being used by live Boolean, which also means if I duplicate it, right? If I make another copy of it, I can hide it for a second and then subtract the initial one, right? Just like we had before, which is on both sides. Let me turn it back on. I'm not sure why that was hidden. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn on my active symmetry, grab my scale, and let's just scale this down. Let's just create something that sits inside these headphones. I think that is going to be a very interesting detail because the headphones, as of right now, seemed a little too boring to me. All right. I think that is a little bit better. So I'm gonna go back into the perspective camera. Let's take a look. I like everything except it feels like, let's do a quick BPR. I think it looks really cool. It feels like this here is a little too simple, right? Even if we do a rendering from an angle, it feels like we could add a little more something here, right? So let's see, what can we do? Let's play a little more. I'm gonna go make sure you're selected. You're on the correct layer, right? So you're on your suit layer. And let's just hold on Control key and let's grab something like the Mesh Project brush. And with the Mesh Project brush will allow you to, if you hold on the Control key, you can see that you have a few options here. One of them, for example, being lasso, right? If you're holding down the Control key the entire time, you can create an interesting shape, and that will be automatically kind of extracted as part of the suit. And maybe let's use this technique to create a few interesting things for our suit, right? So if you hold on the Control key, keep in mind the intensity of this brush is gonna allow you to change the thickness. So if I, for example, if I have this all the way up and I try to create a shape, it's gonna be ginormous, right? Let's say I don't want that. If you want to change the thickness of your armor to be, you know, maybe something like 20, and from the front let's create kind of an interesting shape of some sort. You can see that that is going to change the thickness. Another thing you can do is you can grab something like the circle, and let's say I want to add some circles maybe to the side here, right? I can hold on the Control key and just make a few circles. And the cool thing about this is it's gonna actually hug the curve of the mesh, right? So you can see it's creating kind of a custom shape. So that's really interesting, right? Maybe we like that. And all right, so let's go to the shoulder here and let's just drop down maybe a pad of some sort. And if we wanted to, we can even add more on top. But then, of course, you probably do want to change the thickness a little bit, so it maybe comes out past the initial depth, right? And I think just adding a couple more additional details right away makes the overall the shape a lot more interesting, right? So I'm pretty happy with this. So the next thing we should do as kind of a part 2 of this tutorial is let's take this and let's go ahead and bring this into Maya. And instead of using UVs and bringing it like Substance Painter creating textures, let's just simply use materials and so we'll use Arnold materials and then use Arnold lighting to create kind of a beautiful rendering of our work, right? So if you want to do a quick preview before jumping out, you can just do a BPR and make sure that all your pieces look clean and you're happy with the work so far. Now this next, there's one more thing that I'm kind of eyeing. I know that this is a stylized character, but I feel like it would be, maybe it would be a good idea to add a little more texture to the lip. It feels a little bit too plain, right? So to do that, what I could do is I can go to my standard brush, grab something like the drag rectangular, and then maybe grab something like this alpha 61, make sure that my active symmetry is on, and I can just drag maybe just a little bit of a texture here. And I think maybe that would work well with our model to make the lips a little more interesting. And of course I can smooth this out if I feel like it's a little bit too strong. But I think that looks really cool. All right, so how do we now combine all of this into one mesh so we can export this out to Maya, for example, right? Right now we have multiple subtool layers and we have live Boolean. If we turn this off, you can see that some pieces are being subtracted live in real time, right? So how do we kind of bake all of this in? So to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the Shift key and I'm going to click on this eyeball to hide everything, and then I'm going to just reveal the helmet Boolean initially, right? And what I need to do is I need to kind of bake this in to turn this into an actual mesh instead of being subtracted in real time, right? So to do this, again, I'm gonna make sure that both of these layers are visible, and I'm gonna go to, let's come down to Boolean, and let's go ahead and click make Boolean mesh, right? So I'm gonna click on that. All right, so now you can see the new baked version of these two was created. So I'm just gonna simply go ahead and delete these. And I'm going to insert a one that was baked in instead. And let's go ahead and do the same thing. Holding down the shift key, you can click on any of these other eyeballs. You can see that now this is baked in, right? So if I turn off live Boolean, that's not going to affect my helmet. So let's go ahead and do the same thing with our headphones here, right? So I know that the headphones currently has all of these different pieces. I'm going to take my helmet piece, I'm going to move it up so it's above the headphones, and I know that this is going to be my kind of base, this one is being subtracted, and this one is the outer one, right? So I'm going to hide everything except these three pieces and do same thing. I'm just going to do a make Boolean mesh. As soon as I do, you can see that that was added, and now I can just simply delete the ones that I don't need. I'm going to delete all of these and do insert and add my headphones back in, and now you can see that those are kind of baked in, right? Holding down the shift key, I can unhide everything, and now I know that all of these pieces are no longer using live Booleans, right? So I can actually turn that off. And let's decide if we want to merge all of these, or if we just want to export them out as separate layers. And I think we might as well keep them separate, right? Why not? This way we can assign different materials to different pieces. All right, so to do this, I'm just going to go to export and simply choose FBX and do a save. Now in here, make sure you say all, not just selected, because you want to include all of the layers, right? And I am going to go ahead and do smooth amount to 100 and just do OK. All right, on the top left, you can watch your progress, make sure that it fully finishes exporting. And once it's done, let's go ahead and jump into Maya and see what this model looks like. So I'm going to go to File, Import. I'm going to grab my FBX and do an import, and let's take a look. All right, I'm going to select my model and press F, and you can see that all of the pieces came separate. So I have the face, I have the mesh for the suit, and of course the headphones and the mask or the helmet, right? And we can definitely name these as well, right? So maybe this is going to be my suit. Headphones, maybe top. I'll call this a mask. And these could be headphones. I could right click and go into a face mode and just select just the suit and do a separate, and separate is going to take the suit mesh and separate it from all the other gear pieces that are included, right? So the shoulder pads and maybe the neck pieces. And now you can see there's like a group. So again, I have the suit and I have all the, I'm gonna call it tech. I'm not really sure what to call it. But you can see in the outliner, of course, we have full control over organizing it. I can grab these middle mouse drag and drag them right out of this group if I wanted to. Let's say maybe I don't even need this suit group, so now I just press delete. And you can see what that looks like. Now, if you ever see green in Maya, that means it can't find a material because I deleted something without clearing my history. But don't ever panic, just select everything, right click and just simply do assign existing, and let's do a Lambert for example. And you can see that that gets rid of the green. And all right, so everything is ready for us to set up a beautiful render. So let's go ahead and do that. So the next step is definitely going to be assigning, let's assign a few different materials and set up the lighting for our scene. And don't forget to save, so do Control S. Okay, so to get started, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select each piece individually. So let's select, for example, the face first, and let's right click and let's do assign new material, and then go to Maya Arnold and choose something called AI standard surface. So the way I usually get this, by the way, you can right click on this and say add to favorites, and I strongly suggest doing that because there's a much faster way to get to this panel than going through all of this. You could just simply right click and do assign favorite material, and you can see that mine is right there. So any material that you use a lot, you can just simply add it to your favorites and quickly find it that way. So just a quick tip. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to select AI standard surface for my face, and in the attribute editor you can see that it's currently being assigned as AI standard surface 1. And for me to keep track of this, I'm going to leave it as AI, so I know it's Arnold. But I am going to switch it to, let's switch it to skin. All right, so we can customize the name so we know exactly what this is. And we can even go to presets. And the nice thing about presets is that it gives us, just like in Substance Painter, it's giving us all these different materials that we can choose from, that we can just simply tweak as needed, right? So in this case, if I grab something like the skin, I can say replace. All right, so you can obviously change the skin color to whatever you like, but you can see that all the subsurface and coat and sheen, all of these attributes have been dialed to mimic skin in Arnold. So this is definitely a great way. You can see even roughness, IOR. So all of this is going to be very helpful to achieve skin-like material, right? And you can see right away what that looks like. And of course, if we wanted to, we can change the tone of the skin if we want to make it maybe darker or lighter, or if you even, you can even change it to a different color, right? If you wanted to. So that's totally up to you. I am going to leave it here, and maybe we can dial this more if we need to. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that we did not add any polypaint to the lips, right? Now, if you create polypaint in ZBrush and you actually paint all of this, then when you bring it into Maya with the FBX file format, it will actually carry over, and then you can use all of that polypaint detail here in Maya instead of using textures, right? So it's a cool little trick, and we just have to decide if that's something we want or not. I think honestly, now since I'm looking at it, I didn't think about this, but I would like to have, I would like the lips to be red, and maybe, so maybe let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to literally just delete the face, and I'm going to go back into ZBrush. And in ZBrush, let's go ahead and assign some kind of a skin polypaint to our mesh, right? So how do we do it? Well, obviously make sure that the right layer is selected, and I can hold on the shift and hide everything else if we needed to, but for this case it doesn't really matter. Let's just decide on the skin tone here in ZBrush, right? So, all right, so I'm gonna quickly select the skin color that I think will work. So maybe let's go for something along these lines is fine. Then for the lips, before I jump to the lips, obviously I need to paint in the skin. So if I go into, make sure your brush is selected. So standard is my, the brush I'm going to use the Polypaint with. So I'm going to switch this to RGB, And I can even uncheck add, just make sure I don't mess anything up. So I'm gonna use RGB at 100%, and I'm gonna do a fill object. As soon as I press fill object, you can see a little brush showed up, showing me that now this mesh is actually is painted this skin color, right? Now, if you don't see fill object, that's located under color fill object. So if you go to color, you can see fill object is right there. Okay, so I just have it dragged on my UI. All right, so the next thing I would like to do is I would like to choose kind of a dark red for my lips. So I think something along these lines would be great. And let's just simply paint the lips. So I'm gonna press F on my keyboard. I'm gonna zoom in on the lips. And for this, I'm gonna grab my tablet once again. And let's just simply, using the standard brush, let's just paint our lips red. All right. I'm gonna make sure my active symmetry is on, and I'm gonna switch this to dots, and alpha 01 is fine. And I'm just gonna go ahead and paint this in. When you're painting, if you wanted to erase something, you can just simply hover over the skin color and press C, and that's going to ZBrush will automatically make the color available for you. So then you can just go back, and essentially you're not erasing, but you're literally just painting over with the skin color, right, to clean this up. And then hover over, and you don't have to worry about the different shades. ZBrush knows as long as you're hovering over this color and you just press C, it knows which color to pick. So all of this shading does not play any role in selecting the base color. So that's nice, right? You can just very quickly jump between colors and do a nice job painting. All right, once you're happy, if you are an amazing painter, keep in mind you can even go as far as maybe adding a little highlight on top. So you can always do that as well, and just literally add a little bit of a highlight into your paint. That's up to you, but that's definitely an option. I'm not really sure if that's something that I need to do, but maybe just a little bit. And you can also hold Shift key to smooth your paint and create kind of a gradient. So you have a lot of options here, but once you are happy with your lips, and all right, so once you're happy and everything looks great, let's just simply, I'm not gonna grab all of these, I'm just gonna export just the skin. So again, I'm gonna do export, and let's just call this skin, and just do save. And the one thing that I need to do differently is that I don't need all these layers. So I'm just gonna simply set this to selected instead of all. And for the Polypaint to carry over to Maya, you do need to use this. You want to switch it to this mode. And with these two selected, let's just go ahead and simply say OK. All right, let's go ahead and hop into Maya. All right, so as our next step, let's go ahead and bring our ZBrush skin mesh into Maya. But before we do, let's go ahead and click on Hypershade. And let's go to Edit. And let's click on something called Delete Unused Nodes. That's going to make sure that our nodes are nice and clean, and this doesn't have anything extra, right, from our previous skin import. So I'm going to go to File, Import. I'm going to grab my skin.fbx and just simply do an import. Once the skin imports, you can see that it looks just like the rest of the meshes. It doesn't have the Polypaint color in it. So we have to actually turn that on and tell Maya that this mesh includes Polypaint in it. So to do this, what you want to do is you want to select your mesh, and under Attribute Editor, go to the Shape tab. And there's two things that we need here. So yours might look something like this initially. So you want to open up the Arnold one, and you want to check something under Export called Export Vertex Color. So we're telling Maya, hey, this mesh has Polypaint in it. So, or another word for Polypaint would be vertex colors, right? So we're telling Maya it has that. So that's one. And then the second one you want to do is open up the mesh controls, and you want to copy this current color set. So you want to copy this value, so do Control C. All right. Now we're done with all of that. So let's go ahead and just click on this empty area here. And now we just need to assign a Arnold material to the skin. So I'm going to select the skin, right click, and just like we did before, let's go to Assign Favorites, AI Standard Surface. I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to call this AI Skin. Okay. Now the skin material has the base color right here. So let's go ahead and link this base color to the Polypaint ID. So to do this, I'm going to pump this up all the way to 100%, and I'm going to click on this checkered box here, and I'm going to go to let's go ahead and click on Arnold, and let's type in something called AI User, and AI User is going to give us all these different options, the second one being data color. So I'm going to select data color, and in the attribute, I'm going to Control V, press Enter. Very nice. If you click on this button here, that's going to take you back and to the skin material, and you can see that the color is now being assigned, right? And if you click on this, that's going to show you that it's being assigned to the color set 0. So this is just a way to navigate going back and forth between this node, right? All right, really cool. So still, even after doing all of that, we still don't see anything. Why is that? Well, that's because we need to actually render this out. To do that, we want to turn on the lights. And as soon as we turn on the lights, obviously Maya is telling us, hey, there's no lights. So we need to bring some in. Let's go to Arnold, and let's initially grab something like the sky dome light and just simply activate that. Currently it's just set to white color, which is super boring. We need to assign an HDR image, like an environment image, to this. So you can download one from hdriheaven.com or any other number of websites. I'm gonna grab mine, so I'm gonna click on this checkered box here, and I do need to delete this. Let's go ahead and delete that. Let's click on File and find our HDR image. So for me, I have a few here that I downloaded from, again, hdriheaven.com, I believe. And I'm just gonna use this one initially, just see what that looks like. Okay, so let's see. So let's go ahead and select our sky dome light. One thing that I like to do right away always is I like to turn off my camera. That's gonna only render the character and not this background. So I don't really care about this office background. I just want the lights from the background. I don't want the actual image. So that's this here. Let's pump up the samples for both of these here. That's going to be our shadows, and that's going to be our samples, just high resolution image for when we render. So to actually see the render, let's go into settings here. Let's go to our common tab first, and I'm going to select initially something like 1K. Just do something kind of a low resolution, so we don't have to wait too much. Let's go to Arnold Render, and I think I'm going to leave everything here as is. So mine is set to 4, 4, and 3. That's fine. All right, I'm going to close that, and let's do a quick render. All right, so this is what it's currently looking like, which is pretty good. If you press play here and attempt to rotate this, you can see that it's being updated in real time, and depending on the power and the speed of your machine, this is going to be, you know, fast or slow, right? I'm currently on an iMac, which is not even M1 or M2 or M3 or any of the M's. I'm just on a few-year-old iMac, and you can see it's doing pretty good. I just have to leave it alone to catch up with the rendering. Now let's go ahead and spend a little time, maybe a couple more minutes, setting this up and making it a little more interesting. So one of the first things you might realize right away is that the skin, right, before we even do anything else, the skin doesn't look like skin. It looks way too shiny, right? So to adjust that, I'm going to right click on my skin, go to material attributes, and let's find something under specular. Let's find the roughness, and maybe let's just pump this up a little bit so it doesn't look so reflective, right? Now obviously for skin, you know that you might want to use subsurface. That's going to dramatically increase the render time, but it's going to give us really nice results. So I'm going to maybe turn that up to like I don't know, 0.4. And for the color, let's maybe choose like a red color. So subsurface color is like blood underneath the skin, right? So maybe we can make it something like this. That's great. You can just play around and see what makes sense and what looks good. And you can see that it looks like it's a little more realistic, right? Very cool. So let's keep going. So the next thing we want to do is let's assign maybe a black material to our suit. So I'm going to right click on this, go to assign favorites once again, do standard surface, that's fine. And in here I'm going to do, let's call it AI suit. All right, let's go ahead and use a preset. So as a preset, I'm going to select something from this drop down, and let's find something called how about rubber. Rubber sounds pretty good. Do replace, and you can see what that looks like. Maybe I want mine to be a little darker, right? So maybe I can turn the color, and maybe I want to have a little more roughness, so it's a little shinier. I think that's a little more interesting. I kind of like that. You can of course see what you like. Now right now I'm having a black suit on a black background. Maybe that's a little bit hard to see. How do we change the background on a camera, right, without using like a set or a background image? So maybe I don't want to insert a plane and assign an image and all of that. Is there a way to assign a different color to the camera itself? And there is. So let's do that. Let's kind of do a little cheat. So I'm going to go into settings here, and under environment, there's something called background legacy currently in Maya 2024. If you click on this little checker box, you have something called ray switch shader. So if I select that and go into camera, let's turn the camera up. You can see that this will allow you to change the background color, right? So we can have it black, we can have it white. We can of course assign a color, you know, if you want to be like a solid color, you could do that. If you want to get a little fancy, you could just add a gradient. Maybe let's try that. I'm gonna click on this little checkered box. I'm gonna let's choose a ramp, and you can see now it's gonna allow us to do a gradient. Now for the ramp, instead of a V ramp, let's do, how about we do circular? Okay, and maybe we can decide what color we want. So maybe the outside, that's this part here. Maybe this could be, you know, we can decide what colors we like, but maybe that could be like a, I don't know, dark blue. How about dark blue? And then the inner circle could be maybe like a lighter blue. So something like that. Again, you just play around and see what you like, but that's how you can create a nice gradient. So a cool little trick. Now because this is set to play, right? As I zoom in and rotate, you can see that it's being updated in real time, which is really cool. Again, I really wish I had a faster machine, especially for doing these tutorials, but you know, I have to wait a little bit. All right, so let's keep going. So the next thing is let's take care of these shoulder pads and maybe this side skin thing, right? So to do that, I'm gonna select this. Let's follow the same process. Go to Assign Favorites, Assign Standard Surface, and again, just a good idea to keep naming these. So I'm gonna call this AI. I don't know. I'm gonna call it Suit Tech, just so I know what that is. And again, let's do a preset. And for the preset, let's do something shiny like a chrome. Do a replace. And you can see that's nice because it's reflecting the environment, the HDRI map inside these. If you don't like in my case, I can clearly see windows in here. Maybe I don't want that. So of course I can just change the roughness a little bit and kind of get rid of that shininess that way. All right. Although I kind of really like how it looks. Maybe I can just change the HDR later. All right. So another thing we can do is maybe let's do the helmet. So for the helmet or the mask, right? I'm gonna do another one, and let's call this AI mask. I guess I should say face mask. Do a preset. I don't want it to be clear because remember our mesh doesn't have eyes. So let's just do something like, I don't know, let's do a car paint and see what that looks like. This is nice because it's reflecting, and maybe, you know, I'm not sure what color works here, but maybe we can make it black. I think black actually looks really, really cool. So just comes down to choices and preferences, right? So let's see, what else can we do? Let's go ahead and move on to these guys. I'm gonna hold on the Shift key and select this entire headphone. Initially, let's just select both of these, do Assign New Material, AI Standard, and I'm gonna call this AI Headphone or Headphones. As my preset, again, just try to have fun, figure out what makes sense. Maybe we can do something like maybe a brushed metal, see what that looks like. I actually kind of like that, and honestly I like that better than the chrome one. So I'm gonna right click on my shoulder pads, go to Material Attributes, and for my tech I'm gonna change my preset from chrome to brush metal and replace. I think that looks really cool. I kind of like the fact that this metal matches the headphones. Personally, I think that looks really cool. All right, and let's see, what else can we do? So keep in mind, we didn't even play with lighting, so we'll add a rim light and maybe some basic 3-point lights as well. And just with the environment light, just with the sky dome alone, it's already looking really cool. One other thing we could do is if we right click, or actually let's go to our hypershade, and usually when you are assigning a polypaint to the skin, you do want to add some gamma values to pump up the polypaint from ZBrush. Let me show you how to do that. So in our case, this skin is called AI Skin, right? That's what it's called. And if I click on this little button here with the little plus, you can see that that's going to bring up the node for the AI Skin. And then if I click on this little button right here all the way at the end, that's going to bring up the connection that has the Polypaint connector driving the base color, right? And in here, let's add a little gamma node. So to do this, I'm going to right click and I'm going to say create node. And let's type in gamma, so G-A-M-M, and let's do gamma correct. So I'm going to select that. and you can see a little gamma node has been added. Now, right now you can see that this is plugged in straight into the color. I'm going to select this, press delete, and then change this to go into the gamma, and then go out of the gamma into the base color, right? So initially it looks the same, it doesn't look like anything has changed, but now if we select this, we get a bunch of gamma values here that we can change. So let's change this to 0.5, 0.5, and 0.5 here as well. And as soon as you change that, you can see that the skin with the lips looks a lot more lifelike, a lot more realistic. So that is a very cool trick that is kind of necessary when you're bringing in Polypaint from ZBrush to make the skin look a little more, or the colors look a little more, I guess appealing is the word I'm looking for. All right, really nice. So next, let's go ahead and add a couple lights to make this even better, right? So I'm gonna close this, and I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna just move this out of the way, and let's go ahead and close this guy. All right, let's bring a few more lights in here. So I'm gonna go to Arnold, lights, let's do area light. And if I grab my move tool, I can move this up, press R, and let's just scale this. Think of this as an actual set, like a movie set. Like what kind of size light would you need? So maybe something around a light like this, right? And if this was truly a real movie set, you know, a lot of times they would have like a disc shape or like an umbrella. So try to think of it that way. Like think of this as like an actual set. So I'm gonna make this light maybe somewhere over here to light our subject. And usually what you want to do is you want to have a sky dome light, and then you have a 3-point light. So usually that's the basic setup. While this is selected, I can come down here, and let's change the samples here as well to 4, just like we did with the sky dome light. All right, and I'm gonna press, currently it's set to white. Now you might wonder what that looks like, so let's go ahead and zoom in. And now here's a cool little trick. How can we see what this light is looking like without looking at the sky dome, right? The sky dome is kind of overwhelming the image. We don't really know what does this umbrella light look like by itself. So if you want to preview that, there is something called light editor. So you can go inside the light editor, and in here, if you click on the sky dome light and turn it off, you can see what the other one is currently doing. It's doing absolutely nothing, right? So it's not, there's not enough intensity to affect this mesh. So let's pump this up. I'm going to turn this to like 900, see what that looks like. Not enough, 9,000. Give us a little bit. How about 90,000? There you go. Now it's giving us something. I think it's a little too much. I'm going to go to 50,000. And then you might say, where's this number coming from? That has to do with units. So based on your units that you have set up in Maya, that's going to dramatically change how much intensity you need. So in my case, you know, 50,000 seems to be enough to add some kind of a lighting. And of course you can also use exposure. So you can use both intensity and exposure. Exposure will give you, as I'm adding more exposure, you can see in the render what that looks like. Now to see them together, I can of course reactivate my sky dome. And now if I turn this off and on, you can see the difference. So you can really see that light being in front, and it's also reflecting from the helmet as well, right? Which is kind of cool. Maybe it's a little too intense. So I'm going to go to something like this. And the if I'm not happy with this strange circle as a reflection, I suppose I could just increase maybe the shape of it, or I mean the size of it. Let's just try and see what that looks like if I just make it a little bit larger. So now it's just going to be a matter of positioning it and deciding what you like and what makes sense, right? So just for the sake of speed, I'm gonna let me just move this to the side, and I want to add a rim light. So I'm going to do Control D to copy my first light. I'm going to move it into the position here. Let's switch it to world, and this is going to be my second light, which is going to be maybe coming from her, I guess her right side. Very nice. And let's do one more. Control D, and move one in the back, and this is going to be my rim light. So the rim light is going to be right behind her. Something like that is fine, I think. All right, and for the rim light, let's go ahead and zoom back in, and let's pump up the exposure. So you can see, as I'm doing that, you can see that the rim light kind of appears behind her, right? And it's creating a really interesting effect. And of course, now it's just a matter of deciding maybe the colors, right? So maybe the first light could be, typically you want to do kind of a cool light, a warm light, and a rim light is usually white in the back. So this is our rim light. The first light is in front, so maybe this could be kind of a warmer light, maybe like a little orangey. Maybe let's try that. The second one could be a cool light, so maybe let's make it a little blue. All right, and then the rim light I'm gonna leave white. And now it's just a matter of playing around and figuring out what you like. And of course, changing the HDR is gonna dramatically change the render as well, right? So let me show you what that looks like. If you click on your sky dome, and you remember my current HDR light is kind of blue, right? Let's say if I choose something red. Check this out. So look at the difference between the blue HDR and here's the red one. Right? It's completely dictating the feel of the environment. So it's really important to find, you can find a good HDR that makes sense for what you're doing, right? You have to decide what you like. I actually kind of like this one, but one of the things I'm realizing is that my sky dome light, if I use, this one, is a little too intense. So maybe I can go to like 0.5. I think that looks nice. All right, so I think I'm gonna stop here. This video is getting a little bit too long, but you can clearly see I'm having a good time and this is a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching this video. I would greatly appreciate a like and a subscribe. If you are enjoying this content, that would let me know that I'm on the right track and I should do more of these. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.